So today we're going to start adding furniture pieces to the room. As I said, you're responsible for 5 furniture pieces. Depending on the type of room you are drawing, you could customize those to fit your needs, but they all follow the same basic concept. We're going to be starting with 3-dimensional shapes that go back in space toward the vanishing point. So you can see what looks like a couch actually starts out as a long rectangular box. The coffee table is a box shape. Okay, here's our chair, here's the cabinet, and then all of these shapes go back toward the vanishing point. So it's a pretty easy concept, and you just have to think about how the sides of items would really look. So if you want to make a tall bookcase in the space, you might start with a shape that looks like that. If you're making a bed, you might want to turn that shape over and connect those corners to your vanishing point. If you're making a couch, okay, you would start with a shape like that, but you could also move that over to the center and make a kitchen island or a dining room table. So you'll see how this works as you're drawing your room. I'm going to demonstrate a few different furniture pieces that students seem to have a lot of questions about, but I want to make a public service announcement before we move forward, and that is to make sure that all of your lines are totally parallel to the edges of your paper. If you're failing to do that, you're going to get a drawing that looks kind of like this. You can see furniture items are skewed because the orthogonal lines are not connecting to the vanishing point. It looks like some of these things are sticking out into the room instead of going back in space. So just make sure that you're aware of those things as we're moving forward. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate a few of the furniture pieces that students tend to have questions with. The first one I'm going to do is a coffee table, because that's going to go in the center of my room. You could also do like a larger square for this part if you're making a kitchen table, but for our purposes, let's just go with this lower piece. I'm going to make sure that the edges of this shape are parallel to the sides of my paper before I begin. And then I'm going to very carefully trace around this. If I were just drawing this freehand with my ruler, I'd want to definitely turn it into like a T-square and make all of those edges straight and parallel to the sides of my paper. Now this coffee table is going back in space. It's near the center of the room, so you're not going to see like a side panel or anything on this piece. You're just going to have 2 lines coming out from the top, stretching toward the vanishing point. I'm just going to continue this one. And then we're going to take our ruler, line it up along the edge of the coffee table, and slide it up. Okay, we're going to then end the shape. We're going to go back and turn these pieces into legs. And then we're going to grab our eraser and get rid of the lines that we don't need. So I'll erase that. I'll erase the bottom of this square. Oh, this eraser is breaking. It's not good. Okay, and that becomes our coffee table. So the type of shape that I use can also imply like a kitchen table, dining room table, if you make that a little bit larger. The second thing I'm going to draw is a cabinet on this side of the room. So here, I'm just going to draw this using my ruler. I want to make sure that the edge of this shape is definitely on the floor in my room and not like, you know, floating in the air or cutting back through the wall. Here's the top. Here's the bottom. I'm going to then connect the corners of that shape toward my vanishing point. Okay, then I'm seeing a little bit at the top, go toward the vanishing point. I'm going to then end the shape with lines that are parallel to the ones that I started with. So here's that edge. Here's the top edge. Okay, and again, I could turn this into like a really tall table if I wanted to add legs to it on the sides and just kind of close the top off over there. Okay, if I'm making that into a table, this is where the orthogonal line would angle toward my vanishing point. This would be the other side of the leg. Here's a leg. Here's the corner where I'd have another leg dropping down. It would be even with this one. Okay, if I wanted to put a drawer on the top of the cabinet, I would do that kind of like I'm setting up a window or a door in the room on the wall, right? It's just a line that goes back toward the vanishing point and ends with another that's parallel to the first one. Here's the drawer pull. All right, if I want to turn that into a cabinet with doors in the front like this, like if I'm making a kitchen, then I don't want to be able to see through the bottom of it. I would just erase those lines, but I would add some doors in the front. And as we mentioned when we were drawing landscapes, items that go back in space look like they're getting smaller. So you would want to find the center, like the true center of that cabinet. And that's where you draw the straight line for your door, because this door is going to look, or this side of the cabinet will look like it's a little bit smaller than this side of the cabinet. So I'm just going to go like that. Connect the top and bottom of these doors to my vanishing point. I could put a little handle over here. All right, and that becomes the cabinet. If I want to put like a television or something flat, or like an aquarium or something on top of that, same thing, I draw the side of that shape, and then I'm going to angle that toward my vanishing point. I'm going to end it with a line that's parallel to the first one. Okay, if I'm drawing a couch or an armchair, I'm going to start with my square. I am going to connect all of my corners to the vanishing point. You know, draw lightly so that you can erase what you don't need. I'm going to take my ruler, slide it from the corner, slide it from the top. There's the big rectangle that'll become the couch. I want to think about where the cushions are on the couch. So the first step would be ending the top of the cushion in the middle of that rectangle, going back in space toward the vanishing point. As I hit the opposite end of my couch, you know, if I'm thinking about a couch, that's where the armrest is going to go. That goes straight back, and then it lines up with the corner of that rectangle, which would be right there. So this becomes my armrest. Okay, then I have another line for the back of the couch that's kind of angling. Let's see, if this were to end here, like that would be an invisible line, right? That line would cut through my corners toward the vanishing point. This would be the back of the that top area. Just like my cabinets, I would want to draw an X from corner to corner to find the true center of my couch. So I know that this is where I'd start the separation between the cushions. As it hit this top plane, it would actually be parallel to these lines. So that would go back. And then as it hit the back of the couch, it would go up. No, I think I'm going to end this by drawing the bed, because we talked about how if you were drawing, you know, bookcase, you would use a rectangle that's going up and down like that, but you'd flip the shape if you were drawing something like a bed. So let me just pencil in that long rectangular piece. And then we're going to just connect each of these corners to the vanishing point. Okay, we're going to end the bed with lines that are parallel to the first two. Okay, so there's the top. I'm just sliding the ruler back to where I want that to end. And then I'm going to create like posts and a headboard. I'm going to start with, no, I'll start with this one. Okay, you're just going to do a post, simple line, and then we're angling back toward the vanishing point to show us where this one would end. I just so happen to put that in the right spot. If they were the same height, let's see, this one would end right about here, but I'm actually going to make that a little bit taller, so we'll extend it. And then I'm going to make sure that this post is in line with the first one. I'm going to angle that back toward my vanishing point. Okay, so this one would, you know, if they were the same height, that would end there. But again, I'm going to make it as tall as this one so that it looks even. Okay, you could do a number of different headboard styles too. Like some people like to round this out a little bit. So you could do a round one and just forget about that top part. You could round this out. You could do like another straight line that comes up to this point and then draw like a fancy design in the front of it. Just figure out where the middle of that. Okay, the middle is going to be right here. So if you wanted to do like, I don't know, some kind of swirly Victorian looking shape, you could get kind of fancy with that. Let's have, I don't know, like you could go any which way with that, but you get the idea, right? And then in order to make that look comfortable and like there's pillows and blankets and stuff on it, you just kind of go over the edge with an organic looking line. Okay, that's a little bit more like a blanket. And then you throw some pillows at the top. I'm just going to color those in loosely so you can see where they are. You know, there's all your throw pillows. So there you have it. That's a pretty good example of a bed. If you were turning that into a futon, you could easily do that by bringing up, you know, the back posts so that they were a little bit taller. You want to do that with a ruler. Sometimes I like to try to freehand things, but they don't end up looking as good. We'll bring that back. And you could do your design over here, or you could do like, you know, some bars in the background. Okay, whatever you have going on there with the railing, but that's basically how that kind of shape would go. I feel like it's probably time to move forward into accessories. So I'm going to start talking about plants and lamps and things